Hey y'all, welcome back. It is Dr. T, and I know it's been a minute for live-ish. Instagram has changed some of its live settings, all the things. But anyway, I got on here to talk about a couple of things. Um, why did I get married? How many of you watched actually both? Why did I get married? The one and two. I'm asking because guess what? If you didn't know, there will be a number three. A why did I get married again? Uh-huh. Yep. So it's now supposed to be coming out in September this year. So who was your favorite character on Why Did I Get Married? The one or the two? Angela, Marcus, uh, Mike, Patricia, right? Who was your favorite? I really can't say who was my favorite because I liked particular things about each character. And definitely as a marriage and family therapist, I was all up in uh the movies, the one and the two, and I'm looking forward to the number three. hmm Now, and I can't remember if it was one or two, probably number one, I think. There was a conversation in one of them about the 80-20 principle, right? Now, the 80-20 is based on the there we go, Pareto principle, sort of. Um, Now, originally, the original principle is about um, getting 80% of your successes from the 20% effort, right? Now, the the principle has been applied to relationships in this way that, well, okay, in relationships, we often will have 80 of the things that we need in the relationship, but the 20% that we're missing will make us feel like this relationship isn't valuable. It's not giving me what I need. I'm unfulfilled. And people will trash the relationship because of the 20%, right? Now, many of my clients deliberate this issue, deal with this issue, a lot of them, honestly. And so there's this question about, okay, am I really getting everything that I need? Is it worth it to stay in this relationship? Or is the 20% that I'm not getting, is that a sign that I don't need to be in this relationship? Now, I will tell you, that's a big decision to make, particularly if you're married, if you have children, but in general, if you're dating, even if you don't have children, it can be a big decision. Am I getting what I need? And if I'm not getting what I need, how do I know when I need to get out of the relationship? All right, to stay or leave. Now, as a divorced person, as a recovering perfectionist, look, I can tell you there's a lot of layers here. hmm Nobody wants to make the wrong decision with something like this. At least I know I didn't. And what I hear from a lot of my clients is, well, I want to make the right decision. How do I know for sure? And for example, like how many of you have regretted a relationship that you previously left the relationship, but then in retrospect, you're like, dang, I think I could have worked that out. Or that was actually a pretty good relationship that I just got out of, trashed it, left it, and now I regret it, right? And so let's talk about this kind of 80-20. thing a little bit because I've got some good news based on this conversation. So again, the way that people have applied this 80/20 is that if you are dealing with a healthy relationship, right, you can expect about 80% of your needs to be met in that relationship. That's about it. About 80% is healthy, according to this principle. And if you talk to a lot of relationship therapists and coaches, they will tell you very similar things, right? But again, with this principle, the essentially says that that 20% is unavoidable. And these are, differences, quirks from your partner, things that they do you don't like, um, things that they may never do in some cases. Um, but that the important thing when it comes to healthy relationships, you should focus on those core strengths, the 80% that you are getting, and build on that foundation and just kind of working through the minor imperfections in the relationship, right? So that's how a lot of people have applied this kind of 80/20 thing. Now, but here's where we run into problems. Many of you have heard the grass is greener cliche, right? On the other side of the fence, it looks much greener over there. That fallacy that we talk about is a mistake when it comes to relationships. Because when there are conflicts in relationships, and even in healthy relationships, conflicts are expected. But we can start to fixate on the 20%, right? And so the mistake is that a lot of us will trash, leave a solid 80% relationship, right? It's solid, it's healthy. You're getting 85% of your needs met. We will leave that relationship in search of the 20% that we were missing, right? And we'll get out there, we'll focus on that 20%, and we may find somebody who gives us that 20%. But guess what? You already know the answer to this. You get that 20%, but now you're missing the other 80 from the original person, right? So, how do you know? How do you know whether the issues in that relationship are credible? Is it really healthy at its foundation? And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story here. Some of you already know a little bit of my background. Some don't. So welcome if you don't. I was married for about 23 years. Now, the divorce was rough, but we were married about 23 years approximately, had a son together. Uh, he is the best thing that came out of this relationship. Now, but here's the thing. My ex is not a horrible person, not at his core. He's not a horrible person. He was a good dad. And in some ways, we could have worked on our issues if he had been willing to work on those issues in a way that worked. That's what kept us from making it work, honestly. But well, let me explain what I mean by that. So, as I told you, he's not a horrible person. We had fun together, lots of good memories, good dad, right? But there were some things. There was a lack of honesty that affected our marriage. There was a lack of teamwork. Um, how how he wanted the teamwork to look was one way. What I wanted that teamwork to look like was different. Now, had we collaborated on that, guess what? We probably could have worked on those things. Unfortunately, there was some psychological manipulation, in my opinion, that made it very difficult for us to move forward. One of the biggest things, though, for me, everybody's different, but for me, was his unwillingness to work on his own anger and his own emotional regulation. Now, one of the things that made that so important for me was that I had my own history, right? Traumatic stress history. And one of the unfortunate combinations recently with my own therapist, right? I have had an opportunity to reflect on how many traumatic, I shouldn't be laughing, how many traumatic stress uh, origins, triggers in my own life that just never unresolved. Things that, nobody else in my family was in therapy. Like, who does that? Um, and so there were things that happened growing up and even as an adult that, oh, you just deal with that. I know now, stuff it, get over it. But that traumatic stress was never resolved. So then put that together with a partner who is unable to manage their own anger and regulation. And it's like dynamite, right? It was not a good combination. Now, I have worked on some of my own unresolved trauma at this point now, which is definitely much better. There still are some things that I still am working through, right, as far as trauma is concerned. But back then, right, that was one of the most important factors that made it difficult for the relationship to move forward. One of the other things was I feel like my ex was, there was a lack of him offering support, the type that I needed, and an unwillingness to accept the support that I was offering to him. And, as a person who their core identity is as a helper, um, or as a educator in my profession, dealing with a partner who feels like, well, you can't help me, or, I don't need to take your direction, um, or, you know, collaborative problem solving, um, in my opinion, should have looked very different. So those were some of the things that for me brought me to the place. Now, there are other details I won't share publicly um, that were pretty serious things. There was no physical abuse, I'll say that, right? However, there were many things with that list that I just talked about and some others that brought me to that place of saying, it doesn't look like this is going to work. Or I am going to continue to deal with the side effects. Now, with that, unfortunately, I still dealt with some unfortunate side effects. 23 years of marriage and a rough divorce. Those of you who haven't been around, who don't know my history, I experienced a major stroke a couple of years ago, and so I feel like I made the decision. I assessed that, hey, this relationship is not giving me what I need, and it is causing more harm. And in some ways, perhaps it took me too long to figure that out. Um, Partially, I mean, the divorce itself added an additional layer of stress, clearly. Um, and so all of that helped me to realize, okay, number one, you clearly made the right decision to set some boundaries here, focus on what you really need, focus on your own health, and focus on creating healthy relationships and actually address all of the unresolved trauma, all the years, all the many sep- uh, distinct situations, events, things, from childhood all the way up to adulthood, right? A variety of things that have happened that, whoa, wow, that was pretty traumatic. Oh, wow. Actually, when I look back, that was pretty traumatic, right? And just never really had the support or the skills to deal with it. You just stuff it, you just get through it, and it just gets stored, right? It's back there in the closet somewhere. So again, those are all the things for me, right? And your relationship may look very different. So, so I wanted to offer a couple of tips here, but also I told you I got some good news for you before we get off of here. And so I'm going to offer a few tips related to the 80/20 principle, right? Now, a little disclaimer here. Um, this conversation won't necessarily focus on Christian-based marriages. Uh, I feel like it's its own category. Christian-based and marriage together, I feel like there's contract, there's God, there are a lot of requirements, in my opinion. So this conversation will focus on well, I'll say it can include dating, not doesn't necessarily have to be marriage. It can apply to even dating, and it can even apply to non-Christian based relationships. All right. So the tips that I'm offering today are meant to be general enough that you can apply them regardless of your Christian, spiritual, religious background, or the status of the relationship. Now, we can have a specific conversation about Christian values in another conversation and what that looks like. Again, I feel like there are different expectations, um, requirements, what that foundation looks like, your commitment. I feel like there's a whole nother layer there. So this conversation is really about healthy relationships in general. So if you are asking yourself, hey, do I stay? Do I leave? The first question is, what is the 20% that you're missing? try to actually quantify that, or not even quantify necessarily, but conceptualize it. What's the 20% that you're missing? What are we talking about here? If you're missing more than 20%, if you're like, oh, I'm only getting 50, I'm only getting 40, sis, maybe you should consider leaving that relationship. All right. So if you're not even getting 80% of the things that you need and want, yeah, you might need to seriously consider what's keeping me in this relationship. Uh, but if you say, hey, I feel like I'm getting about 80, yeah, sound 80%. Identify the 20% as clearly as you can. What are we talking about here? What's missing? Have you told your partner that you have unmet needs in that area? All right, have you explained to them what you want that to look like? So, one, have you figured that out for yourself? Because that's important. You're like, oh, I'm just unhappy. Okay, but why? What's going on? So, identifying that for yourself, and then have you communicated that to your partner? Have you given them an opportunity to respond, to feel it, feel that need, and given them an explanation about what you want that to look like? Now, the next question is kind of a tougher question. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Since we're talking about 80s and 20s, are you giving at least 80% in the relationship? I'm not going to look you right in the eyes when I ask this. Are you giving at least 80, 85, 90, 95, 81%? I don't know. Are you giving at least 80% in the relationship? And if you ask your partner, would they say they're getting at least 80% of their needs met? To be fair, it's hard to expect to get 80, 90, 100% when you're only giving 40. Just saying. So now that you've explored your 20% and communicated that, now you got to ask yourself, am I giving my 80 at least? Also, are you watering your grass? Are you fertilizing your flowers? Whatever metaphor you want to use here. Um, so all of that, right? What are you investing in the relationship? With that, one of the best ways to get what you want is to actually give it first, right? Okay, I'm gonna say that again. One of the best ways to get what you want is to actually give it first. So if you're saying, man, I want more emotional support from my partner, are you giving it? How about you try that? How about you try initiating the emotional support, doing that more consistently, more meaningful ways? Is it quality time that you want? Initiate that, offer that. More sex? Hey, initiate it, offer it, right? And see what happens. Now, if you're initiating, offering, and they're blocking, right now you actually know what the true problem is in the relationship. right? So that's my suggestion here. If you're in that category, um, you are wondering, I'm getting some good stuff in this relationship. It's been going pretty good. We've been married 5 years, whatever, 10 years, but something's missing. And there are some important things that you feel like you're missing in that relationship, right? Start by asking yourself what the 20% is. First, ask yourself, am I missing 20 or am I missing more? Right? Um, but if I'm missing 10, 15, 20%, okay, what specifically is missing? What do I want more of? Or what do I want it to look like? What needs to look differently? Because over time, right, if you've been in a relationship more than 2 or 3 years, over time, our needs shift, change, we grow. What I wanted back then may look different. That makes sense, right? But we often forget to talk that through with our partner, how we've changed, how they've changed, how our needs have adjusted over time. So, using that 80/20 is a good way to kind of assess for yourself, have a way to have a conversation about it, but try to get specific about what's missing, making sure you're communicating that, and then asking yourself, what am I investing? And making sure that, um, hey, you're not, your partner isn't the only one that's not giving, right? So, those are my two main tips here. If you are in one of those relationships where you're not feeling the fulfillment that you want. Now, um, today I will be releasing my newest ebook, Avoiding the 80/20 Love Trap. It's going to be on sale. That's the great news. It's going to be on sale through the end of July. So through July 31st, I think 11:59 p.m., I think. Now, avoiding the 80/20 love trap is all about this conversation here. How to determine whether this relationship is worth it for you. Uh, I try to walk you through some steps here to help you figure this out. Should I stay? Should I leave? But more importantly, avoiding that mistake of leaving a sad, solid, healthy relationship, chasing that 20%. Right. So we try to address all of the things like, hey, am I in a relationship that isn't healthy? We address that briefly. But I also try to give you some things to think through to help you make a decision about what's worth it and what's not. So I've got some reflection questions in there for those of you who love journaling and those things, some scenarios in there. Hopefully, you can see yourself in the scenarios. Right. So all of that is in the ebook. And um, you can get this ebook for less than a dinner out. All right. So I will be putting the link to where you can get the book, and particularly where you can get it while the discount is up. So the discount will be up for the rest of this month, kind of the early release. So hey, now is the time for you to go ahead. And those of you who are out for the summer, You got the time, it's an easy read, right? Now, the other great news that I've got for today is I'll also be starting a VIP group um, in a couple weeks, right? Hey, leave them or love them, right? Is the group. Leave them or love them will be opening soon. It's a quick 8 weeks VIP group. The goal is you will have a decision to stay in the relationship or end the relationship by the end of that 8 week group. I'm going to try to give you the resources. We'll have some reflection exercises, um, the tools, the confidence, understanding yourself, all of those things. It's a lot. But hey, 8 weeks, that's what you'll have. And you can sign up with a couple of layers of support for the group. Um, and so for those of you who are like, hey, I already went on 5 cruises for the summer and my budget won't support a high level for this group, but I think I can manage this. So I'll have, I think there's 3 tiers that you can invest on to be able to get some helpful information. So you've got the book, the ebook, that is kind of the lowest level. The information is there, though, in the book. But for those of you who feel like, man, I need a little more support, I read through the book, but I kind of want somebody to be there to help me talk through some of these things. And I want a sense of community. I want other women who can kind of help me know that I'm not, I'm not crazy here, that I'm actually thinking about the things that I need to think about. And so that VIP group, again, will be offering a couple of layers. Will be opening up soon. If you are interested for that, just comment VIP and I will actually send you a discount code, an early bird discount code, right? So just put VIP in the comments. I'll send you the early bird discount code for the group. So if you sign up and pay before the group opens up, hey, your budget may actually support the highest level, right? If you jump on it quickly. All right. All right. So you've got the 80/20 principle, a couple of tips here in this conversation here, the ebook coming out, and the VIP group. So we want you to get unstuck in this indecision that you're currently in. We also don't want you to fall into the trap unnecessarily of leaving a sound, fairly healthy relationship chasing that 20%. All right, so you've got all of these options, all of these resources. I encourage you to take advantage of any of those, right? Applying the tips here in this video, this post, whatever it is, or go run out and get the ebook. If you get it now, guess what? Discount. We love discounts. And the VIP group. Again, hey, even more value if you go ahead and register and pay um, for the end of the month, the early bird, right? All right. So if you have other questions, comments, if you're looking forward, if you're like me and you're looking forward to the movie, Why Did I Get Married Again? All right, coming up in September. Let me know that too. I'm going to be looking forward to that. And I'll probably do a post after I watch it because I know I'm gonna have some thoughts, right? All right. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. You got questions, you got thoughts, I want to hear it in the comments. All right. And I will see you soon. Take care until then. Hey, it's Dr. T, your relationship coach.